Hello, my name's Heather Regan-Addis from Beachcomber Meditation, and welcome to our podcast on kindness. I'm here again with Tracy Connor, my dear friend, and we're going to talk a little bit about kindness, which is the focus of our year of meditation program for the month of August. Hi, Tracy. How are you doing?
Hello, Heather. I'm very well, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, I'm pretty good, actually. Yeah, pretty good.
Good, good. So, my first question to you is, what is the beachcomber approach to kindness?
Okay, so the beachcomber approach to kindness is that we take this non-dual approach. So the non-dual philosophy is expressed by Rupert Spira as the nature of my being is peace and happiness, and I share my being with everyone and everything. And that's called the perennial philosophy, which is at the core of all major religions, or at least the mystical branches of all major world religions. And it's this idea of oneness, that we're all part of one big consciousness, one infinite consciousness. And so, from that perspective, we come to recognize that, it's a bit like the sea, and we're all waves on the sea, but we're all made of water and we're all part of the one sea. So, like, my waves here and your waves there, but it's this recognition that I am you and you are me from a different perspective. And because of this perspective of oneness, the a crucial element of our being is love, because we actually recognize that we're all part of the same thing, and that's the source of love, because I recognize my being in you, and we're always seeking to come back to that oneness. So that's where love comes from. Therefore, um, our aware being, an innate quality of that is kindness, because it's natural to be kind to, when you recognize that we're all one. Of course, we're going to be kind to each other. We're going to be kind to the planet. We're going to be kind to all the animals. And so the beachcomber approach to kindness isn't about cultivating kindness. It's about revealing the innate kindness of aware being. So we all have our conditioning through life. So how we've been brought up, our genetics, our experiences at school and at work and in our relationships through our life. So we all have this conditioning that can sometimes cover up the kindness, like clouds would cover up the sunshine. So the approach is we're using a Buddhist approach this month of metta bhavana, or loving kindness practice. And in this, we use our imagination to set up flows of kindness. So maybe kindness from ourselves to a dear friend, kindness from ourselves to ourselves, for example, and we notice what happens. So if we feel a flow of kindness, then we really revel in that feeling of that felt sense of kindness, in order to grow our confidence that this innate kindness is our true nature, is our aware being. Um, and then where we find that we're blocked, we just open and curious about that. We don't have to do anything about the blocks. We just notice the thoughts, notice the emotions, notice how it feels in the body, and allow any stories about the blocks to just unfold themselves. And this creates the conditions for insight. So insight is like a wind blowing the clouds away, so that the sun can effortlessly shine, the sun of kindness can effortlessly shine through our being. So that's our approach. It's not like we're trying to grasp something from outside, like thinking that kindness is something outside of us that we need to have more of. It's really about recognizing that our true nature, our aware being, is inherently kind, and gradually uncovering that. And because our inherent nature is kindness, when we're being kind, that makes us happy, because we're acting in accordance with the deep truth of what we really are.
Oh, that's so beautiful and inspiring. Yeah, yeah. Thank you for sharing that. And you've said a lot there about the approach, and but I'm just curious about how will you be developing this during the month of August?
Okay, well, yeah, we're going to start easy. Well, hopefully easy. I mean, you just never know. We're going to start with a dear friend, but also ourselves, which might not be easy. So we're going to start with setting up a flow of kindness towards a dear friend. And even that can be tricky sometimes because the relationships that we have with our dear friends, they can be quite complex. So we start by choosing a dear friend who we have a straightforward relationship, and animals are good for this, you know. So our pets, if we have a good relationship with our pets or our animals, then you know, we're going to be using kindness phrases like "May you be happy," "May you be well," and then just see what happens. So that's where we're starting. And then we're going to move on to something that often people find quite tricky, and this is pairs of opposites. And this is something that Pema Chodron talks about in her approach to teaching kindness, is that you set up pairs of opposites. So it might be rich people and poor people. It might be healthy people and unhealthy people. It might be old people and young people. So these are opposites, and then express these kindness phrases to them. And I think people don't like this practice because it really reveals where we're stuck. It really reveals where the clouds are. And I was thinking of some other opposites. So maybe local people and foreign people, like we might find there's an issue there, or right wing people and left wing people. You know, we might find that there's kind of something there. So really exploring, you know, where we're stuck to create the conditions to just understand what that stuckness is about, but always staying within our window of tolerance. So challenging ourselves, but not trying to express kindness to, you know, people or groups of people that we feel have been really hurt, we've been really hurt by, or we've been traumatized by, but just staying within what feels, you know, it's not too easy, but it's not too challenging. So we're kind of stretching ourselves gently. So we'll do pairs of opposites, and then we're going to move on to the people that we don't like. Um, and again, not choosing our, you know, nemesis who has really hurt us, but just maybe choosing our annoying neighbour that plays music too loud, something like that. And then we're going to be drawing on a practice of aspiring, dissolving, and equalizing, which was developed by Aura Glazer. And we're going to be doing the equalizing part, which is really interesting because we start saying these kindness for this person that we don't particularly like, and we notice what happens. And then we imagine stepping into the shoes of somebody who really likes them and viewing them from their perspective. And that can be really interesting because then we come to understand that um, it's not something about the person that's inherently dislikable. It's something that's, you know, between us and that person, maybe something in us that we see in them that we don't like. So we come to recognize that. And then if we can then change our relationship with the person, or have a bit more understanding or compassion towards them, then if our part of the relationship changes, then the whole relationship inevitably changes. And I think the other thing that we notice is that we'll be exploring is that when we dislike somebody, that actually causes us suffering, you know, because it's not in accordance with this kind of inherent like kindness of our aware being. So when we dislike somebody, you know, that actually causes us to suffer. So that can create a motivation for kind of a bit more understanding, which isn't to say that we've got to like be a doormat. You know, if there's somebody who's harming us, when we uh, practice in this way, we gain a lot more understanding into the dynamics of the relationship. And often that can free us from kind of any kind of um, stuckness we have in that relationship and enable us to either set a strong boundary, maybe not see that person anymore, or be clear about how it makes us feel when they act in a particular way, or you know, maybe we don't need to do anything. We just need to understand with a bit more clarity where they're coming from, because a lot of the dislike between ourselves and others is a mismatch in expectations and assumptions about how we behave. So just bringing a lot more understanding can then maybe enable us to be kind, but not at the expense of ourselves. Rob Nairn our meditation teacher, he used to say there's no need for self-sacrifice. So there's always a balance between kindness to others and kindness to ourselves, which needs to be maintained. And as
Mhm.
we've discussed before, if someone's been unkind to us and we're letting that happen, that's not kind to us, but it's also not kind to them because they probably are unaware of their unkindness. And if we can show them that, then that gives them an opportunity to do something about it. So often we're not actually helping the other person either if we allow them to continue to be unkind. So kind of I've talked quite a lot about that, haven't I? But then we're coming back at the end of the month to the inherent kindness of aware being, that we're all waves in one sea of being. And when we recognize our being in others, that creates the conditions for love. And
Mm.
obviously, what comes from that is the innate kindness of aware being. And I'll say this again: if we're kind, it makes us happy because we're acting in accordance with our true nature. There's no mystery to that. That's just the truth of the matter. Yeah, so that's what we're going to be exploring during the month of August. I wonder if you've got any thoughts about that, Tracy, or anything to add?
Wow. It's just wonderful to be reminded of these practices because I've these are practices that I've engaged in many times over the years, and I just can see the difference that they actually made in my life and continue to make because they are transformative. And something that really resonated with me you know, is that when we do these practices, it does enable us to see very clearly the dynamics of a relationship and what's going on. Because, we can come up with all these stories about, our relationship with people, and which allow them to be unkind to be unkind to us, and vice versa. But that's the one of the key things that came up for me with these practices is actually being able to clearly see what's going on between you and the dynamics in your relationship. And it's very freeing, very freeing.
Mm,
Yeah. And lately I've just been sort of digressing a little bit, but
yeah.
just this sense of connection.
Mm,
It and we know that we there's every atom in our body, which is just I think it's just amazing, is ancient,
mm,
and we've shared our atoms with animals and other people and trees and if you just need to look at it, it's something that I asked ChatGPT, are my atoms ancient? And ChatGPT said, yeah, they sure are. And it's something like Thich Nhat Hanh has always said, in previous life you've been your mother or whatever your belief is, but you've been your mother and you've been your enemy, so it's this we are all one
mm,
in more than one way. um so it's really, really wonderful. So
mm,
I'm looking forward to it, Heather. Thank
mm.
you.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Tracy. Thank you.
yeah.
Yeah, so if you'd like to join us for the August sessions on kindness, a year of meditation, there's weekly blogs, there are regular practices to do, and we meet once a week on a Thursday evening. And it's only £9.99 a month, so it's pretty good value. Anyway, this has been our latest episode of the Beachcomber Meditation Podcast, and we look forward to speaking again and bringing another episode to you very soon.
Bye.